So please explain where state control over specialized high school admissions ends and city control begins. The example being, could the Discovery program be expanded to be the conduit for 100% of students in the specialized high schools as opposed to limiting city control? Okay, so that's the question. Yes.
Yeah. I haven't been asked that one before. There is no cap in the legislation to the Discovery program. That's a fact. What the consequences of that would be and whether it would face challenge and scrutiny, I'm sure it would. But the best answer I can give is that the legislation itself does not identify a cap. And I think that our goal now, though, is to move forward with this expansion to 20%. It's a significant one. And it's going to admit a much more diverse group of students, and then hopefully do away with the exam completely so that we can move to a better and fairer way of selecting the students. And then the Discovery program would be irrelevant because we would have a way of selecting students that is better and fair.
Great. This is a really also very, all these questions are great, by the way, so I'm going to apologize in advance because we probably won't get to all of them. Given that the test is biased against girls, would the multiple measures be biased against boys? Or would it result in less biased admissions from a gender perspective across the board?
Actually, it would reduce the gender bias by a great deal altogether. The estimate of girls' grades using the exam is about 4.2 GPA points, so that someone who's predicted to have an 85 would actually have an 89 plus. If you use the 7th grade GPA, there is still a small gender bias in favor of boys, actually, but it's only 1.33 points. And depending on how you combine that with other criteria, you would for sure admit a lot more girls of all ethnicities. That was a question that was posed to me a few years ago, is this somehow an interaction with ethnicity, this gender bias? And while the degree of bias may vary with ethnicity, it's true across all ethnicities, it's true in every way you slice and dice the data, it comes out the same. So, yes.
So I think this goes back to, it's a building off of one of the points that was made earlier, but I think it bears asking this question. Someone asks, what can or will be done to ensure that the top 3% will be honestly evaluated and that all students get the access to resources that will allow them to improve the skills to be considered as such? I know some of these questions are tough to answer.
No, that's really thoughtful. I appreciate the question. So I think just to take the somewhat simpler part first, the way this would work is that we would take the students' grades in those 4 core courses, English, Math, Social Studies, and Science, and their state test scores, and we would create a composite rank. It would be, the student or family wouldn't have to do anything, we would do it centrally, and it would be in a transparent way that we would create a rank order and then offer students admission based on that. So it would be transparent and objective. I think the other question speaks to something we've sort of touched on a little bit here, but I want to just push on it a little bit more, which is to say, this effort of ours to improve the admission method for specialized high schools is part of a broader effort to improve the quality of all of our schools and to push forward what we call equity and excellence throughout the system. And our goal is, as a couple people have alluded to, both to improve all of our middle schools so that our students are poised for success in school and in life going forward, and to improve all our high schools so all of them have the kind of college-going, career-oriented, success-oriented, achievement-oriented, whatever phrase you want to use, but that students have the motivation and the peer support and support from the teams in those schools to fulfill their potential and achieve what they want to achieve in their lives. That's the broader agenda. This is an important part, we believe, of making fairness true in our schools, because a lot of people look to these schools, as we've learned, as not only as fine schools, but as symbols of what you can achieve in New York City schools. So this is part of that broader agenda, and I did want to just point that out, because I think we are dedicated to making sure that every student has the resources to achieve, not just in these high schools, but in all of our high schools. And that's part of the commitment that this mayor and chancellor have made and invested a lot of time and energy and money in achieving.
Anyone else? Yes, go
I'd
ahead.
actually like to ask you a question just to clarify the mayor's proposal. The 3%, 5%, 7% that would be admitted from each school, I've in some places seen an additional qualification that they must be in the top 25% citywide, which I think makes an enormous, that is true, that makes an enormous difference. So that you're not going to get someone who's in the top 7%, admit someone who's in the top 7% of the school if they're in the bottom half of the city. Correct. Which gets to the question of admitting students who are not qualified. I can't speak to what the actual results of that will be, but I think it's important that people understand that difference.
There's a group of questions that I'm going to try to summarize because I think they're all getting at the same point, and I apologize that I'll miss some of the nuance in some of them, but it really goes to the way this impacts students with learning differences and the extent to which students with IEPs or other forms of learning differences are impacted, and I think assumed in that is also what is not sufficiently accounted for in the current form of evaluation for entry into specialized high schools, and will this at all, or is there any mechanism for addressing that this new method will help address?
We think that it's an improvement over the single exam that's administered once for 3 hours. And it does give students a chance, if they're succeeding in middle school, to enter the specialized high schools. And I think just overall, again, this mayor and chancellor are trying, working hard and investing a lot of time and resources in ensuring that there are supports and services in all of our schools that can support learners with different abilities, different learning styles so that they can succeed. I don't think, just to say, I think we know we have a lot of work still to do on this. And we have teams of people that are quite focused on it, and would love to talk with people afterwards because I get a lot of feedback about that we're not doing well enough there, and we know it and want to hear more about what we can do to improve.
I think interesting question. Something that has been missing from discussions is neurodiversity. How will the new proposal accommodate children with IEPs? Oh, I said sorry. I got it back. I told you I had a bunch of those. The very, very important set of questions, and again, multiple question cards, so I'm going to try to summarize them into basically one question, but it really goes directly to the fact that a large percentage of Asians who are currently admitted to specialized high schools as a result of the SHSAT are also going to essentially lose seats besides being poverty, low income, and therefore the issue, and again, different questions pose this differently, but essentially what can be done, what's the fix, how does this impact the trends and the reduction of the mobility opportunity for low-income Asians then, who essentially are potentially going to lose the number of seats that they currently have despite being low income. That's my very, sorry if I butchered that. I had several cards. I was trying to meld them into one.
I'll start, and maybe others have. I think we have two important tasks in addition to making this a better, fairer process that speaks to. I think one is to try to get the word out about the range of fantastic high school options that are out there in New York City, other than these eight schools, which are among the most prestigious in New York City. But there are many, many fine high schools with talented cohorts of students that go on to do great things. And I think we have to do a better job of letting families know about them and encouraging them to attend them and continue to invest in making more and more of them in New York City. And I think the other important task that we have to take on is, again, continuing our school improvement efforts citywide. And that includes our college access for all programs in high schools and our AP for all programs in high schools to ensure that there are rich course offerings in high schools across the city in every neighborhood. And trying to create more equitable, diverse high schools where students of all different styles, abilities, backgrounds, etc., can succeed. And that, again, goes hand in hand with this broader agenda. And I think as we succeed in that, there'll be more schools where all of our students can succeed.